please welcome multi-hyphenate creative, philanthropist, producer, singer, dancer, oh, by the way, NSYNC band member, soon to be new dad, congratulations, and I love this, space travel advocate,
yes.
Lance Bass. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This is really
definitely.
exciting. So Americans, we're going to get to your documentary,
Okay.
which you have at the festival, which is very exciting. But to start with, Americans know you as a famous singer and reality star, but you're also a reality television producer and now a doc producer. And I was curious about how you made that transition to behind the camera.
I've always been interested in producing, things. I mean, even when I was in NSYNC, I loved being behind the camera with the music videos. I would write a lot of the music videos. So that was always fascinating to me, even more before music. So when we decided to go on a hiatus, which we're still on, I decided, I need to shut my music brain off for a second. I really want to, dive into this film. So, I started producing scripted, films, and then I kind of fell into documentaries. My very first doc I produced years ago was a doc called Mississippi I Am, which was a short film about LGBT youth in Mississippi and what it's like to be out, back then. This was like 8 years ago.
Which is where you're from, and that was your
life.
life.
Yeah. And so that really just made me fall in love with, filmmaking and documentary making in particular.
So for a lot of people, unscripted or reality television can be very polarizing for viewers. What is the key ingredient to making a successful unscripted show that isn't lowest common denominator?
Yeah, well, it's got to be authentic, and that's the hard part about doing these unscripted projects. A lot of the times it can be very one-sided, and when you watch a doc, if it's completely biased. What I like to do in all my films is just tell the facts. Let the people tell their stories. Most people in all these docs are victims in one way or the other. And right now we're in a point in history where we're actually letting victims speak, and we're listening, and we're actually believing them now. So it is a great time for unscripted right now. People are just fascinated with wanting to know the truth, because we live in this world of we don't know what's true anymore.
Sure.
and it's sad that we're in this part in time where people are just making up whatever they want to make up. So I think people are yearning for the truth.
Why do you enjoy starring in reality television? What is it about it?
I like being a storyteller. I'm a ham. I like to be in front of the camera. I like to talk. I had my own talk show for SiriusXM for 5 years, and it was one of my favorite things to do, 2 hours a day live, because I just like to talk to people. I like to educate people. I like to learn. That's my biggest thing. And I know I can be wrong all the time, but I like to talk it out. So I love telling stories.
This is a good segue, because you're the producer or a producer of a documentary premiering tomorrow at South by called The Boy Band Con, The Lou Pearlman Story. Now, I don't think a lot of people know the origin story of NSYNC or Backstreet, but it obviously involves a man named Lou Pearlman. Tell us about this film and about Lou Pearlman.
Yeah, well, Lou Pearlman was a businessman that had the idea of starting his own record label, and he wanted to create the next Motown, which he basically had going. And if he wasn't so greedy, he could have, continued. But in Orlando, Florida, he started this label, and it started with the Backstreet Boys. And then we put ourselves together, and he signed us. And it was this incredible time in music where we lived in Germany for 2 years, then we came back to America, and it all blew up, and this pop explosion happened. It was Britney, us, Backstreet, Christina, Ricky Martin. Just the pop explosion went nuts, and Lou was kind of right there at the top. It just kind of fell into his lap. As time went on, we realized that he wasn't the best businessman, and he was a little shady in all of his contracts, and he's basically was stealing from everyone. And besides that, music was just a third of the story in this doc. And what I learned a lot was from his childhood to his death, he created this persona, this character that was not him, and he would just lie about every single thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and it got to the point where we couldn't do it anymore. So we went through a huge lawsuit, got rid of Lou and Transcontinental Records from taking advantage of us.
So I think you tell me what we can talk about in this film. I'll dance around whatever you want
I'll
here.
talk
because
about whatever
I
you
found
want.
this is one of the things I really enjoyed about this film was that it starts off almost like a behind the music of, you know, Backstreet and NSYNC and some of the other bands that he started, and then sort of transitions into almost a true crime, you know, documentary about Lou Pearlman, which I thought was fascinating. You describe him as a music producer, but in the film, he is the least music producer type of person I could think of. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and also what his other businesses were?
Yeah, it was hard to know what businesses were real and was not real. It all started with a blimp business. He started this blimp business, which was actually his friend's idea, but he claimed it to be his. And you know, in the film, you'll see, you know, his first scam that he ever enacted was a Jordache blimp that he, you know, licensed to do. Built this blimp very cheaply for maybe like $5,000. Crashed it on purpose to get millions in insurance fraud.
Wow.
And that's how he started everything. Just that first insurance fraud. Gave him enough money to move to Orlando, start Transcontinental Airlines, which again, when you see the film, it's
Oh
not
my
really
gosh,
an airline.
blew my mind, yes.
Oh, I mean, just the lies just over and over, and he would take one little nugget of truth to convince someone that he wasn't lying to get, you know, this going, and then when he had this success, then he would use that little carrot to, you know, to do a ruse over here, and then ultimately he ended up enacting one of the largest Ponzi schemes in American history.
And he used a lot of the money that from the defrauding of a lot of sort of retiring people to sort of help fund NSYNC and Backstreet and these other bands.
Well, not at that point.
No?
We were way before. So we were, you know, when we signed in '95, he wasn't even thinking about Ponzi schemes and all that. It's after the fact when we left and Backstreet left, he used our success to build a lot of other bands, and then used also that success to convince you know, a lot of elderly people out there to invest in his downtown Orlando projects, which ended up being a Ponzi scheme.
How many businesses did he have?
Oh, who knows? I mean, he at one point he told me that he owned TCBY yogurt.
Wait, I thought he did.
No.
Oh my God.
It's Transcontinental Yogurt. No, it's not, that's not TCBY. He did have a pizza place. That was legit because we would actually go eat there. So I knew that he owned that one. But other than that, I don't know how legit any of his businesses were.
Can you tell me about some of the pitfalls of being a very young artist starting off in the business and entering into a contract with someone that you didn't know you couldn't trust?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was 16 when I started, so I had no idea about the music industry.
Right.
The business, I had no idea about the business. And when we signed the contract, it was, at that point, Lou was our Papa Lou. Like, he was family, and he was the 6th member of NSYNC.
Technically,
Legally, the 6th member of NSYNC. And his reasoning was, which made sense to a 16-year-old, was, oh, well, if I'm the 6th member, that means I'm a part of you guys, so you won't have to pay a lawyer, you won't have to pay a manager, you won't have to pay me as the president of the label. Like, I pay for it all as just the 6th member of NSYNC. So you're going to save so much money that way. So and you don't even need to look at the contract because my lawyers looked at it.
Wow.
And we're family. Why would I have a bad contract for myself? Because I'm the 6th member of NSYNC.
That's slick.
So it made sense to a naive person being promised the world.
Right, and you're coming from small town Mississippi. You're very passionate about music, and then Justin Timberlake and his mom call you up, and he wasn't JT. Well, he was JT.
He was on the Mickey Mouse Club.
He was already JT
Yeah,
at that point, and
he was
called.
just little Justin.
I could see why
Yeah.
you might just say yes to whatever this offer.
Well, of course. Again, when you're promised the world, you believe it. And yes, a 16-year-old that had no idea that they would have this opportunity presented to them. I was starstruck immediately because I remember Lou Pearlman and Lynn Harless, who's in the movie, Justin's mom, called my mom and was explaining, like, we're putting this group together. It could be really big. I already knew Justin and JC from the Mickey Mouse Club. Like, so I knew this was legit. It already had a fan base.
Sure.
So, it was presented to me as, you're going to be stars overnight if you join this group, and we're doing it all at Disney World. So it's great.
You have a fair amount of some of the members of a lot of the bands that Lou put together, but not all, and some were resistant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Why was that?
This was a difficult film to cast because every story that's been told on Lou Pearlman's life has been very salacious, and it's it goes for the darker elements of everything, and it doesn't show the full picture, and that's what I really wanted to show. But it was hard to explain to everyone that's the doc we were trying to make. So when we first started casting this, we got told no by pretty much everyone, and this is kudos to Aaron and Matthew Ducey and everyone at Pilgrim that really fought hard to get the interviews, especially with the Ponzi scheme victims, the ones that they didn't want to rehash this.
Yeah.
A lot of them lost family members over this. The childhood friends, it was, a lot of people were scared to tell their story because a lot of were actually afraid of their lives if they told their story because they didn't know who all was still involved and how deep rooted it went, because there's this kind of looming kind of mafia background too, to Lou Pearlman, who he would always brag that he was part of the mafia. So you're like, well, I don't want to mess with that.
Okay.
So you were always kind of scared, that at any moment someone was going to kill you if you did something wrong. So people were very, to this day are very scared to tell their story. Even Joey Fatone, my best friend, said no to being in the film because he's like, I don't want to do this. But after we had the first cut done and we started showing it to people, they were begging to be in the film.
Sure.
They were like, oh, okay, now we want to be in it because now they see the tone that we had.
That's so interesting. By the way, I think everyone in this room probably wishes Joey Fatone was their best friend. But
No, you don't.
No. But so your film acts as a cautionary tale. There's a Michael Jackson documentary on HBO, R. Kelly documentary.
Right.
Do you think that this film will start to sort of open the door for others to come out to speak out about what has happened in the music industry?
I hope so. Right now, the victims are being heard, which is so great. I think everyone should be able to tell their story, and I'm glad that we give a platform, for people to do that. But yes, the timing for this film is, we could not have. We didn't plan it at all that all these music docs would be coming out at the same time, and people now see how easy it is to be fooled, and hopefully people's eyes will be a lot more open, and not just believe everything that you're told, or even believe in what you see half the time is not real. So hopefully, this will be a very good cautionary tale for anyone, in the future.
It's a good watch for a lot of reasons, especially because it has fantastic music in it, which I feel like is always cheating when you're watching a documentary and there's fantastic music in it.
Yeah. And that wasn't even half the songs we wanted to use. That was the other hard part, was trying to get the music signed off on, because Max Martin again was like, I don't want to be a part of
The music producer,
a crazy, a salacious Lou Pearlman film. But again, once they saw the first cut, then they're like, okay, you can have the music now.
All right, so as I mentioned at the top, you're a multi-hyphenate, you do all sorts of things. And something that's coming up, but we'd love to know about, is a show you're hosting. It's on HGTV, and it's called A Very Brady Renovation.
Oh yeah, well, I'm actually not doing that one.
You're not doing that?
I know, I got kicked off that one. No, I'm doing a Christmas special for them now.
Okay, wow.
That was my consolation
The news
prize,
are changing so fast around this.
No, originally, I was going to be working on the Brady Bunch house because, I lost the bid against
You tried to
HGTV.
buy the house. You tried to buy the house.
I got hosed out of that house. So they're like, well, at least you can come help produce it. Didn't end up happening that way. But they did give me a Christmas special that's going to air, obviously, this Christmas.
That's really exciting, though. I think a lot of people really enjoy that.
I love HGTV, and I love Christmas, so yeah.
You are not done with films by a long shot.
No.
It sounds like you want to work again with the director of the Lou Pearlman doc, but you also have a scripted film that you're in production on.
Yeah. Unscripted has been my life for the last few years, with TV and film, but scripted is kind of what's really in my heart. And so, yeah, my next scripted film is being developed right now. We're very excited about it. And it's based on an NSYNC story. So my life is basically telling NSYNC adjacent stories now, I guess. But this one I've been wanting to make for a long time because it's this really quirky road trip story about these girls. It's not even about NSYNC, but it's this girl trip of these seniors that decided they were going to write into The Price is Right. One of them was going to get on there, win a Winnebago, and enough money to follow NSYNC on the Pop Odyssey tour all summer long. And it happened just like that.
Wow.
I mean, it was insane that this really happened. And so we're developing a story based on what happened to the girls on the road.
That's really exciting. By the way, I think the phrase "NSYNC adjacent" has never been spoken to me ever in my life, and now I've just learned something.
Well, you're NSYNC adjacent now.
Profound. Very clever. Music is your first love, or is it now film?
I mean, entertainment is
Okay.
my first love, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of entertainment, you're working with Richard Branson on a music festival? Tell me about that.
Yeah, this is another exciting project. I mean, it's crazy. All these things I've ever wanted to do, they're all just happening now. They're all rolling out at the same time. But yeah, we're starting a music festival called Virgin Fest. Next year, it'll be 2020. Very excited about it because obviously, music is my life, but with Richard, it's a lot of tech, and I'm a big space geek just like Richard. So our festival is going to be it's a very good VIP experience, very elevated music festival, but there's going to be all the newest and fun gadgets that you get to play with.
Because he retired V Music Fest, and now
right.
it's this festival. What can you tell us? I'm sure it's very secretive, but where is it going to be?
Can't say the city yet,
Yeah,
but
and
it
it's
will
just-
be in a city near you because there'll be more than one for sure.
Okay. Oh, interesting. And is there anything in regards to the innovation that you kind of alluded to that you can tell us about?
Well, of course, we'll be touching a lot on the space travel stuff. So, with Virgin Galactic and all that, going, and by 2020, we'll be very close for people starting to travel to space. So, yeah, there'll definitely be some good space stuff.
So I'm imagining at this festival you may have another business of yours involved, which is your cocktail mixers line.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting into a lot of weird
You're spinning
stuff.
all the plates right now.
I know. I mean, why not? But they all do feed each other. No, I'm starting this mixers line called Just Add X, where you just add vodka, just add whiskey, just add tequila to these really great tasting craft cocktails that we came up with because people like to enjoy their drinks these days. So we made it for Jax Taylor, from Vanderpump Rules. He's one of the stars of Vanderpump Rules, and he's been a friend of mine for years. And we jokingly started this project because he's a horrible bartender, and we wanted to make a product for people that pretend they're bartenders. So they just put the liquor in, ice, shake it, and you have a great drink.
Impress everyone,
Yeah,
all their friends.
Yeah, so we're launching that tomorrow at the closing party here at South by Southwest, along with, I have the Bubble Tap trailer too, which is it's a Prosecco trailer. So these like shabby chic trailers that, you can have Prosecco on keg.
Tell me when and where, and I will be there.
Oh, that's here in Austin. We actually have one here. Yeah.
So we only have a few minutes left, but I do want to get to something a little bit more serious, just because it's important to me and a lot of people who I know, and that's over a decade ago you came out publicly, and it was a huge deal for you. The press was all over you, following you around, and now it's not as much of a big deal. However, it still is. Are there young people who come up to you and ask for advice when they're considering, essentially outing themselves these days?
Yeah, I have a lot of people that, call, especially a lot of entertainers that are wanting to tell their story, wanting to come out. And yes, it is so much easier than it was in 2008. Back then it was a career killer. Unfortunately, and today also, people's careers can be hurt by just their personal life because there's just such strong feelings still about the LGBT community. Just a lot of misinformation, a lot of people uneducated and ignorant to what this community really is. And we're always going to have to constantly fight, for our rights. But yeah, it's nice when people do call and want to get that advice, because every single person I've ever talked to in the business, they always come out after I talk to them, and they're the happiest they've ever been.
That's really great. So last question, and I think some people know this about you and some don't. You're a space advocate. We don't have a lot of time, but like specifically, what is it about space? If you could narrow down into 12 words.
I'm an explorer. I love the unknown. I love exploring. You know, it just excites me to go somewhere not many people have ever gone before. So as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. You know, my first launch that I ever went to in Florida just really inspired me. And since I was 10 years old, I said, I'm going to be a space engineer so that I can end up being an astronaut. That was my trajectory.
And you ended up.
And then somehow I became a pop star that
pop
also
star.
became a cosmonaut.
I can't wait for that film that you make about yourself.
Yeah, trust me, and there's some. It's way more dramatic than the Lou Pearlman story. I have to say, my experience over in Russia. Yeah.
Lance, I really want to thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
You are truly an innovative multi-hyphenate, and I just enjoy your enthusiasm and the way that you're a wonderful explainer of just things. And I appreciate that, and keep it up.
Well, thank you. I will.
And for all of you out there watching, his film that he produced is here premiering at South by Southwest, and it's called The Boy Band Con, the Lou Pearlman Story. So if you're around, please check it out.
And it should premiere April 3rd on YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube Red.
Yeah. Okay. Very exciting. And so everyone out there, thank you for watching. Lance, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Make sure to stay tuned to southbysouthwest.com/live.